You know, we were talking the other day about extraordinary gemstones, extraordinary jewels in our careers and so forth. And I remember saying to you, well, I've always been mad about rubies. It's by far my favourite stone, as you know, for all sorts of astrological and other reasons. And the great ruby, clearly, was the sunrise ruby. There's never been a finer one. It's still by far the record price. But I was remembering the first time I saw it, because we just sold the Graph ruby, if you remember, so like in end of 2014 for $8 million a carat. Huge press about it. It's an 8-carat stone, I think, as I remember. And as always happens after you have those world record prices, you know, it's in the papers everywhere, and everybody who has a ruby or a good ruby thinks theirs is a record stone. So I got a phone call from somebody in a part of Europe saying, "Oh, Mr. Bennett, you know, I've got a better one." So, you know, I wasn't overly excited about it, nor did I think it was very likely that this person was going to have a better one, but I happened to be going there 2 weeks later, and so I'll come in and meet her. So the charming lady, we sit there for half an hour in this very sunny day, beautiful part of the world, and we're discussing astrology, because she'd read that I was interested in astrology, or was an astrologer. And then halfway through, she suddenly says to me, "Oh, I expect you'd like to see the ruby." So I couldn't disguise the fact that, yes, I was sitting there thinking it would be very nice. And so she pulls out this box and passes it to me, and I can see it now. I open the box, and there is the most extraordinary gemstone I think I'd ever seen. Certainly coloured gemstone. Firstly, it was a ruby. It was huge. It was 25 carats, so very, very large stone. It just completely took my breath away. It took me aback. You know, I was almost, if I'd been standing up, I'd probably be reeling about it. It was a glorious colour, top colour, very clean for a stone of that size, beautiful Cartier mount. And she said to me afterwards, she said, "You took the stone, put it in your hand, and apparently I walked off for 20 minutes with it." She said, "What were you doing?" So I said to her, well, I was so taken aback by it, I couldn't believe it. But I was wandering around looking at it in different lights in different parts of her house, because, you know, all coloured stones change in different lights and so on. And the other thing I was doing was thinking, how is it possible I've never heard of this stone? Because it was clearly like the ruby of reference. And of course, what could she possibly imagine it's worth? Because we just sold the record price over $8 million, and this one was almost 3 times as big. You know? So what was I going to do? So I gave her a price. It was already double what the other one had made. So, you know, it was a crazy price. And as you know, it sold for $30 million. So that was nearly 4 times as much as the previous record for a ruby. So what was so important about the stone was that rubies have this, for me, almost tangible power, because they're related to certain spiritual centers in the body which are very powerful, and particularly important for me in my astrological inner stellium. And this stone was incredibly powerful. It literally hypnotized me for about the 20 minutes that I had it. And before the sale, I decided, remember, it needed a name. Such a stone couldn't be without a name. So there's this wonderful poem by one of my favorite poets, Rumi, you know, 13th century poet, who compares the ruby, holding it up to the morning sky, and it's this is the redness inside the ruby. Is it, you know, it's this wonderful thing of how a ruby is an essence of something, it's the essence of a purity, of a spiritual center, spiritual truth that we need to have, and it's our action principle. It's, you know, it's what gets us up in the morning and what carries us through life, and it's the enthusiasm that we have for life and for the spirit. So we called it the Sunrise Ruby, which of course was perfect. And every morning before the sale, so it was after 3 months or something, 4 months maybe I had it, I used to ask my one of my assistants to bring me the ruby. And so I'd spend the morning looking at it, because I knew that after we'd sold it, I'd probably never see it again. And so I had it now engraved in my mind, this extraordinary, magical stone. Best ruby I've ever seen.